Well, hi, everybody. It's Kim Winter, CEO of Logistics Executive Group. It's my great pleasure to host another session talking to some of the great business leaders around our world, in particular supply chain and logistics. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Hussein Wehbe. Hussein is currently the CEO of the leading last mile company here and a lot more in the Middle East, Fetchr. He's previously been the UPS Managing Director for the Middle East, an advisor or the advisor to the Prime Minister's office in the UAE Government here, which is an awesome role, I'm sure, that we'll get to talk about, Hussein. And prior to that, with 16 or 17 years with another iconic company here in the Middle East, Aramex. You're the Regional Director for the Gulf region. Welcome, Hussein Wehbe.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you very much for your time and for this great coffee virtual session.
Well, thanks for joining us. And Hussein, you probably amongst others have been one of the iconic executives and leaders right across the Middle East for many years. And it's remarkable that you still look so young, because I think you've covered about 100 years worth of senior executive management in your time. And of course, we've met many years ago as Dubai in itself was really coming to the fore as a major logistics hub from 20 years or so ago here. So I'd really like to start off on the personal journey for you. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you came from, what your early years were like, and what influences you had around you as you were growing up.
Yeah, I think I have an interesting story, but before that, you were talking about I look younger. Let me tell you something. The real damage is internal. It's in the blood pressure and everything. Don't be fooled by the external young appearance. No, this is a very challenging industry. It's a beautiful industry with all the stress, with all the challenges. It keeps you alive. It keeps you full of energy. My journey started back in 2001. I graduated from college from business administration. I joined a great company, which was Aramex in Lebanon, directly after my graduation. So I didn't really have time to take a break or search for a job. The job was there really waiting for me. And it was a great learning curve. I started in Lebanon and then I came to Dubai. I grew with the company. I learned a lot. I gained most of my experience in Aramex. I've had great friends, great exposure to the whole region. And then after that, I had another perfect opportunity, which is to go and work with the UAE government. Going from the private sector to the public sector wasn't something that I've ever imagined. But when this opportunity knocked my door, I couldn't really refuse it. And I can tell you, it was one of the best steps I've ever done in my life. Joining the Prime Minister's office was a big pride for me. For me, it wasn't really a job. It was much more of, as I always say, it's a paid contribution, because when you work for a country, it makes a big difference rather than working for a company. So the time spent there have taught me a lot. I've learned a lot, contributed a lot. It gave me the knowledge of the private sector, of the public sector, of the government, the perception of how governments see the private sector. The performance there is completely different than the private sector, because every day you come to work full of energy, full of passion to give back, full of passion to serve those, let's say, 9 or 10 million people in the country. Even if your contribution was 0.001%, but you end up your day by thinking, wow, I did an achievement, I did something that can affect millions of people.
And just on that, Hussein, sorry, but I just wanted to drill down on that, because insight into the UAE government is not necessarily out there every day to see what's happening in the dynamics. The leadership in the UAE, and I've been in and out of the region over the last 20 odd years, has been identified as being very innovative, wanting to lead, especially in technology and innovation, in being first. I mean, I think UAE holds something like 40 or 50 Guinness Book of records about different things of being the first and the biggest and the best. What drives that desire for the government to be so on the front foot on so many issues?
Look, the first thing I noticed there, Kim, is there's a vision. When there's a vision, everything else happens. There's a great vision by the leadership of this country, and everybody in the government works towards achieving that vision. You have a vision, you have a proper mission, and of course, the leadership is exceptional. And there was always one thing that everybody used to look into, which is we want to be the number one in everything we do. And this is where His Highness Sheikh Hamad always used to say that he wants the UAE to be the number one in everything it does. And this is what keeps you busy around the clock in whatever you're doing. I can tell you, in every government function, you will see that direction, you will see that will, you will see that passion by all the employees and all the people who work there, because there is one unified direction, which is to be the best in everything they do. And by the way, technology and innovation has been always there. Never think when I was working there that I've ever felt I'm working in the traditional public sector at all. Our talks, I was an advisor there, and I had nothing to do with logistics, by the way, zero. I had more to do with bringing the best practices from the private sector to the public sector, sharing those best practices, talking about technology, improving government services, developing government services through tech, through some traditional ways, by merging between tech and the basic strategies, you can reach the perfection that's required. So yes, in principle, innovation, creativity, and of course, the most important thing is the passion to deliver to the country. This is what we really enjoyed there. And maybe I came back to the private sector, but I can tell you, I'm still in the middle of the bridge. Part of my heart is public, and the other part of my heart is private. So this is where I will stay forever.
That's great insight, and thanks for sharing that. You've always had a very strong media profile in the Middle East, certainly the last couple of decades. On your journey, you've done a great job in getting new ideas out. I would say I would call you a change maker and a change driver. You've never been afraid to speak out and say your piece, even when it means not necessarily going with the flow, and speaking out in terms of new ideas and taking opportunities. You moved on from, after 16, 17 years with Aramex, you were at the Prime Minister's office, as we said. Then you went to UPS for a while, and now you're at Fetchr. And Fetchr has been one of the high-profile companies here, specifically in the last mile space. Tell us a little bit about the Fetchr journey and where things are at now, because, again, Fetchr's pretty regularly in the news around the Middle East.
Indeed, Kim, many people ask me what brought you to Fetchr when you were really working for the big corporates. You know, the big corporates, it's a different story. You're working there, cash-rich companies that are very much set up traditionally. They've been performing always, and they have all the tools. Then the question is going from the corporate world or the big corporate world into the smaller part of it, which is a company like Fetchr, which is a small company compared to the big ones. However, I've seen a lot of different things compared to the big companies. I've seen the agility, I've seen the resilience, I've seen the potential in this company that really made me say, you know what, yes, I'm going to leave those multi-million or multi-billion dollar companies and go to a company like Fetchr, where the potential is unlimited and where the industry today needs companies like Fetchr to come up, grow, step into the industry, fix the gaps that are there, and of course, capitalize on the strengths that it has, which is the technology, its great people, and the concept of the business of Fetchr. So what I've seen in Fetchr when I moved here is, number one, the technology is incredible. It fixes a lot of gaps in the industry today. I've seen a team who has been there for a while and extremely resilient, because the time I joined Fetchr, and it's there, of course, in all these press releases, Fetchr was having difficulties and challenges. And those challenges never affected the team. They never affected the morale of the team. They never affected the turnaround and the transformation mission that we came to this company to do. So I can tell you, moving to Fetchr was a great step for me. It's a great turning curve. I've learned and seen things I've never seen in my 20 years of experience in the big companies. And it's a lesson in resilience, persistence, and of course, the modern type of logistics, the modern type of shipping, the modern type of last mile. Because when you talk about technology here, technology is coming to enable this industry and take it from the primitive era into really the modern and advanced 2.0 version of the logistics and supply chain industry.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that insight, Hussein. If nothing, your background has been, your journey has been so varied, and I think it's very exciting now where you are and applying what you've learned into what until recent times has been a really explosive startup organisation. So we wish you well with that. Let's just pan back a little bit and touch base with you around what you're seeing happening in the broader supply chain. The last 12 months, we've seen a lot of disruption, of course. We've seen a lot of opportunity around e-commerce. A lot of traditional companies have been caught short by not being in the e-commerce space where they possibly needed to be. We've talked about digitization. You just mentioned a little bit about technology there and its influence in the market. What do you see moving forward over the next 12 months as being the key issues for not only just companies like Fetchr, but across the broader supply chain? What do you see as being those major influencing factors that leaders need to be taking into account or getting on the front of the wave or on the front foot with?
You've just said it, Kim. I think the most important thing here is the leadership of all these companies should step down to the field. Today, it's a different world. Today, the industry itself is passing through a major disruption. I can tell you that everything before COVID-19 in our industry is different today. All the strategies should be changed. All the directions and mindsets should be changed. I see an incredible boom in the e-commerce. The e-commerce growth and the way it's happening today, it was supposed to happen across maybe 3 or 4 years ahead of us. But the COVID-19 have accelerated this by maybe 10 times, and it took us 3 years ahead. To be able to cope with this, which was never expected, which the companies are never ready for it, by the way, from a technical perspective or from reshuffling their strategy cards and planning how to continue to stay profitable, to stay efficient, there's a big question mark here. So what are those companies doing today? Are they in a chaotic situation? How the leadership of these organizations is looking into things? Are we still thinking, as I always say, are we thinking a pallet position? Are we thinking a rack? Are we thinking, let's say, a 5 tons shipment going from point A to point B? I don't think this is the situation anymore. Be it the freight industry, be it the last mile industry, for me, it's an end-to-end product and service that I offer to my clients. Because if the first mile, which is the freight or the pickup of the cargo, or the last mile, which is the tech geeky companies like us, we have to be integrated, we have to be more aligned, we have to all be connected and interconnected through the latest technologies. We have to be integrated in a way to provide a seamless customer experience. And when I say customer experience here, allow me to say more of a citizen experience, because every person who lives in the country that we serve is a citizen. And giving a citizen experience during crisis, that good taste or flavor, this improves the overall morale of the country. This improves the overall service levels of the country, where we operate in parallel with the government directions to make life easier to people. So all those things need to be considered rather than putting all the profits before people and seeing how much we're going to do money before we go into the next year. Planning on how really to be resilient and how to really reshuffle, as I told you, our strategy cards, so that we can cope with the current industry trends is extremely important.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that insight. I guess that provides us a segue to my next question, which is really if you were to take a couple of key points for senior leaders in the supply chain and the logistics space over the next 12 months to 2 years, looking forward, whether companies have developed their strategy or whether they've been reactive or whether they've been proactive up until this point. Moving forward in 2021, what would be a couple of key areas and key factors that you think leaders should have in their mind to drive success, irrespective of whether they're on the upstream supply chain, downstream supply chain, no matter how close or far away they are from their customer? And of course, customers are all around us all the time. What would a couple of tips from you be in terms of leadership moving forward, things that leaders should keep in mind for successful development moving forward?
I have two messages, one for the big players and one for the small players. Big players, I think it's time to remove the corporate ego from our mindsets and go down and deal with customers, all of the customers, equally, no matter what's the size of those clients, because today, every single dollar or dirham of revenue can make a big difference. I think stepping down from the traditional ways of doing business is an extremely important thing. I would like to tell the big companies to start thinking of and to cascade down maybe more of a transformative mindsets to their people so that they can be, as you said, more proactive and coping with what's going to come next. Because I predict that what's going to come next is much more challenging than was what we have faced already. However, I'm not being negative. I'm being very positive in saying a lot of challenges will come. And the beautiful thing here to do is to be ready for those and to prove to everybody that you are capable of overcoming those obstacles. Number one. Number two, customers should be put on the front of everything and compared to anything else in your direction. Today, I think customer experience can play a very big difference, especially in tough times. The way we make clients feel is the way we're going to decide on our destiny for the coming 10 years as partners to clients. If we provide the proper customer experience, if all the tools that those companies are investing in between technology, the right people, and the right mindset, these will fall into the customer experience target, which is in front of them. I think they will be doing very well. Small companies, I tell them, be aware of spending whatever cash you have in the non-core business. Today, you see small companies with limited cash reserve spending money left and right on the non-core areas of operation, areas of expansion. My advice to them is hold your cash, spend your money wherever it's supposed to be spent, focus on your customer experience. Don't play those price wars with other players, and I think you will be there. You have tough times coming, but extremely exciting times. So leadership here is what will make or break any of those organizations.
So it's really interesting. I mean, you reflect back on sort of conserving of cash and being judicious about where the investment takes place. You've also got a fairly strong reputation, certainly in this part of the world, as being an entrepreneur who shares your vision. You've been involved in a lot of startups. You've been involved in incubators and encouraging entrepreneurs. If I was to ask you to name a couple of points in your mind as messages to entrepreneurs coming into the market now, whether it be in the logistics and supply chain field or wherever it might be, what would the lessons be that you would share? What would the hot points be for entrepreneurs looking to get into business, wherever it might be in the world? What could you share with us?
Yeah, Kim, that's a great question. You're right. I'm very much involved in supporting entrepreneurs, between mentorships, between just giving free advice from time to time, whenever my time allows, and during my personal time, of course. I've noticed that you have brilliant ideas and brilliant startups which are cooked, or some of them who are already operational. The thing that they really lack here is, and what I noticed personally, those entrepreneurs are very good in the technical part of business. Most of them are excellent in the product that they sell. Let's say some of them, if it's a technology, those guys are great in the tech. Some others maybe are in the food industry. They create, a certain type of a food product. They're perfect in that. But the question is, how are they scaling up their business, and are they capable of growing their business themselves? Maybe not. They need to bring in those co-founders with them who are strong in the commercial part of the business, some others who are strong in the operational part of the business. Because as an entrepreneur today, it's never enough to have a great idea, to have the best funding without having the right team with you. When I say the right team, you have to be hand-picking those people who are with you. A perfect tech guy who has the best technology solution in the world will never grow if he or she are not able to sell that product to others, if they're not able to convince others about it. So this is where we come in as mentors and help those startups and entrepreneurs in selling their products to our friends and connections and opening doors. But this cannot continue forever. So choose your best co-founders who are very good in whatever you are not good as them. Number one. Number two, for the logistics and delivery, please, not anybody who thinks that they can have access on a small funding to come and bring in those map and app companies, which I call them. If you are not really experienced in the logistics and in the transportation, it's going to be very tough for you to pick up and compete with the existing players. It's becoming a very crowded market today, extremely crowded. Hundreds of companies are popping up. So you don't want to be another one of those hundreds who will struggle maybe for a couple of years. If you want to open a logistics company, better not to come with a traditional approach. You have to bring in something which is unique, which is not existent in the industry. It can be a tech, it can be a solution. And this is where you can plug in with existing companies and grow together. Don't open a company to come and compete with others. Today, it's not working anymore. Be innovative, be creative, bring in and add on to the logistics space and plug in, and this is where you can fly. Collaboration rather than competition. That's my personal advice.
Awesome. Yeah, certainly very wise words from somebody who's been through the traps and been through the ropes over the years. So appreciate that input and sharing that with our audience today. With all of our guests, I always like to round up by inviting our guests to speak a little bit about and provide any insights to the way that they look at talent coming into the business. Always of interest to me, running a global talent executive search business. And from your perspective, when you're looking to bring people in, especially when you've been going over the years, you've been running organizations that have had extreme growth. They've risen quickly. They've had ups and downs along the way. What is the key elements of talent that you're looking for? What are the characteristics in the people, the men and the women that you're looking to bring into your organization? What is it you look for?
You will not believe me, Kim, and I will say it. Maybe I'm the only person who will say this ever during such days. Today itself, I see zero challenge in finding the right talent. The market is full of them. You have an incredible amount of talented people. Today, me as Hussein, okay, and keep it in this room between us and the millions of people who are seeing this. If today I'm to open my own company in whatever the industry is, I can tell you minimum I can choose 50 people blindly, no matter what the industry is, bring them in, build the best company in the world with such people. So I don't think there's a challenge in finding the talent today. The challenge is having opportunities and jobs for those people to come in, plug with you, and really be part of the story. This is from my personal perception. Maybe 2 or 3 years back, or during the golden days when business was really flourishing with everybody, yes, we had the challenge of finding the right talent because companies were competing on attracting those talents. They had a lot of jobs were really flooding at that time and opportunities. So you really need to make that extra effort to tell that person, come to me, I'll give you more than what others will do. Today, it's different. A lot of good talents are compromising on their packages and or their plans just to join jobs. So for me today, this is the situation. But what I always look for is attitude, the character of those people, because the technical skills, I mean, anybody can learn those technical skills in a couple of weeks. So character and attitude are very important for me. I need to bring in those people who are coming in, believing in the organization, believing in the industry, believing in the business, and of course, not coming to have a job. I need people to come and to be part of a family, to grow that family, rather than hit and run job for a couple of years.
Awesome. So look, sage words indeed, and really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I know you've got a fairly busy day. It's still fairly early in the day where you are. So really appreciate taking the time. I hope the audience has gained some insight into your background, your journey, and some of the work that you've done and the companies that you've been involved in around the Middle East. We wish you certainly well. We wish you all the best, and you and your team at Fetchr moving forward over the next year. And we look forward to touching base with you maybe later in the year and seeing how that journey's going.
Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you for you and your whole team. Pleasure to be with you, and be positive. Things are going to be great.
Thanks, Hussein, and thanks everybody for joining us, and stay safe out there, and have a good day wherever you are. Thanks again.